Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you guys some of the strategies that helped me go from like a D/C student to an A student in college. So let's start. So a little background story on my journey with studying. Growing up, I never really had to study for my exams. I could just show up on test day and do pretty well in the class. On top of that, there was a lot of other things in my classes that supplemented for my exam scores that could help me get in the class. For example, like homework assignments and like participation points. So when I got to college and it was only exams, it was a big shocker. And I started off, not with like the best test scores. And I was like, I think it's time for me to change my study habits and actually try to study for my exams. So my first strategy is do not copy off the PowerPoints word for word during lectures or in the class. I used to do that and I realized I was missing out on key information that my professor was actually saying. And when it got time for me to do my homework, I wouldn't understand what I was doing or how to solve my homework assignment because I was so busy copying down the PowerPoints word for word. So what I started doing instead of copying off the PowerPoints word for word is I would start printing out the lecture PowerPoints before class and bringing that with me to my lectures. So during lecture, I would take notes on key points that my professor makes. I would highlight keywords, dates, names. I would write questions that I had that I can follow up with my professor after class. So it really helped me stay effective and engage with the information and actually like listen to what the professor is saying. And by doing that, you're also able to kind of weed out what's not going to really be on the exam and what will be on the exam by just listening to your professor. So if your professor is talking about something for a long time, it's 98% of the time going to be on the exam, and the stuff that your professor just kind of skips over probably won't be on the exam. So another thing I started doing was participating in class. Research has shown that when you participate in class, it actually helps with memory, comprehension, and recall. I'm not going to go ahead and cite my sources because this isn't a research presentation, but you guys can go ahead and check on Google to see if I'm right. So I found that when I started participating in class more, I would be understanding the information much better than I did before. I also found that it made class a little bit more fun because I was engaged with the material and I was participating. Participating in class could also shows your professor that you really want to learn, you're really happy to be there, and towards the end of the semester or quarter, when it's time to round your grade, your professor will be more inclined to do it just because they saw that you were always actively participating and listening in class. So I know participating in class could be very scary, especially if you're a shy person, which is why it brings me to my next point. I know we're on classes online, so this doesn't really matter, but once we're back to classes in person, I definitely advise you all to sit at least in the first 5 rows of your lecture hall or the classroom. I always sat in the 3rd row because 3 is my favorite number, and I'm not all the way in the front, so my neck doesn't hurt when I'm like looking up really high on the PowerPoint, and I'm not all the way in the back where I'm getting distracted by what other people are doing on the computer. So I like to sit in the 3rd row, and that's really helpful with participating because you're in the front row, so everyone's not staring back at you when you're like answering a question or asking a question, because that can be very nerve-wracking. And sitting in the front row also really helps with you focusing because your professor can see you, so you're not gonna do something else. Like, you're not gonna be on your phone, you're not gonna be on your laptop, because that's disrespectful. And you're also not getting distracted by what other people are doing on their computers. I used to sit in the back row and I would get so distracted. Like, someone would be watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, someone would be on YouTube, and I'd be like, oh, I want to watch it. Ooh, that's a fun game. And I'm missing out on the whole lecture because I'm so distracted on what other people are doing instead of focusing on what my professor is saying. So I just started sitting in the 3rd row, and it made me more focused, and I would leave the lecture actually understanding what's happening. It also got rid of some of the nervousness I would feel when I wanted to participate because everyone wasn't staring back at me because I was already in the front. Told you guys the 3 tips that are going to really help you with focusing in class and taking effective notes in class. but what's really going to change your grade, what's really going to help you ace your exams, is the next strategies I'm about to tell you all. So after lecture, you really want to rewrite your PowerPoint notes within 24 hours of the lecture. I know that sounds crazy, but you can honestly do it. Why you want to do it within 24 hours of the lecture is that the lecture's already fresh in your mind, and it also helps with procrastination. You don't want to be rewriting all your lecture notes, before your exams, because that's just not effective and it's not sustainable. And I'm saying write your notes. Don't type them. You want to hand write your note within 24 hours of your lecture into a notebook. When you're rewriting your notes, you want to only write notes on the key things that your professor was talking about during that lecture. When you are approaching the PowerPoints, when you're rewriting your notes, you want to, on each PowerPoint, you want to, look at it and write a summary on what the whole PowerPoint's main idea was. So for example, it's all these details, but the main idea from it was that birds can fly. And write on my notes, birds can fly. And it was really effective because I was able to turn down, 103 slides of lecture notes and put it into 3 pages in my notebook, which was really effective. And of course, you want to write notes on main ideas, and then of course, you need to know the details. So what I would do to get the details is that usually after a lecture, there's the key concepts or review questions. You want to make sure you can answer those review questions and key concepts when you're rewriting your notes. So when you get to the end, you want to look at it and be like, what are the 3 things birds can do? And you want to look at your notes, birds can fly, this and that. And then it also kind of helps you find the details that you needed and the details that you didn't. So after you rewrite your notes within 24 hours of the lecture, the next thing you want to do is find out what type of learner you are. Finding out what type of learner you are is the key to storing the information you are learning in your class into your long-term memory. So yeah, rewriting your notes, it really helps with engaging. You're using that strategy to be able to separate what is relevant and what is irrelevant. So that's why you want to rewrite your notes. But the second thing that you should be doing is finding out what type of learner you are and then finding a strategy to address that. So there's something called the VARK model, which explains the different types of learning. You have visual learners, which stands for the V, auditory learners, which is the A, R stands for reading and writing, and K stands for kinesthetic. I am a kinesthetic and auditory learner, and me being a kinesthetic and auditory learner made sense because I played basketball for 11 years. Basketball is all about muscle memory, and you can easily find that out by going online and doing a simple quiz on it. Probably link one down below. And from finding that out, you want to start doing different things that are going to help address that type of learning style. What I started doing, I feel like this is very helpful for all types of learning style, is making flashcards. You want to make flashcards within, I want to say 48 hours of the lecture. So why I feel like flashcards is really effective for all types of learners is that flashcards are visual. When you're going over flashcards, you're talking, which is auditory. You can write your flashcards, which is reading and writing. And when you're on the flashcards, you're touching, which covers the kinesthetics. There are different ways that you can make flashcards. I advise everyone, let's work smart, and you guys should definitely use something called Anki. It is an app that you can download to your computer for free, and if you want it on your phone, it is $25, but I definitely felt like it was worth the price because you have it forever. With Anki, it's spaced repetition, which really helps with memory. Research has shown that when you see something frequently and it's spaced out, it really helps understanding the information. So I would make flashcards through Anki, and I would try to go over a minimum of 10 flashcards every single day. So my last strategy is test yourself. That is gonna make or break whether you know the information or not. And a good website that you can use to test yourself is called Easy Note Cards. And on Easy Note Cards, you can go ahead and put the book for your class in the little search engine, and it will give you all the possible questions for each section in that book. And with Easy Note Cards, I personally found that with my lower division like science classes, like most of the biology classes, is that when I put in the book for the class and I would do all the possible questions for each section, when it was time for me to take my test, 75% of the questions I saw on easy note cards ended up being on my test, but worded a little differently, and I would start getting minimum of 90% on all my exams. But once again, easy note cards doesn't work for all subjects. Schools are different. It doesn't work for all schools or class. So you definitely want to find other resources and try to pick something that's going to help with you kind of understanding the information and testing yourself on it. So doing all the study tips that I mentioned in those videos really helped me go from a D/F/C student to getting straight A's. Please go ahead and connect with me on my other social media platforms. Hopefully, I want to say in 2 weeks, I'll be doing a video to help you guys with your finals that are coming up. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment. And make sure to hit the notification bell so you can be notified about my videos every 2 weeks. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.